Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of Showcase on Bloodborne. Now when I first played Bloodborne, I played my first playthrough naked, no wiki or anything, and that's how I missed this weapon. Now my German's pretty terrible, but I think it's pronounced the Reiterpallasch. That's up for debate. But anyway, weapon wielded by the Knights of Kinehurst. Once elegant knight's sword with a particular firearm wielded by the Kinehurst order. The old nobles, long-time inhibitors of the blood, are no strangers to the sanguine plague, and the disposal of their beast was a discreet task left to their servants, or knights, as they were called for the sake of appearances. Well, that's just a law of term of knights did all the dirty work, knights and servants. So yes, it's the only rapier in Bloodborne. And I'm a little sad that I missed this the first time around, because I absolutely adore this weapon, for multiple reasons. Some you probably know, some you're probably going to learn. But anyway, so visually I've set as a rapier, and exactly what it is. It's a basket style, basket hilted, where the hilt is dull, but of a dome going over your hand. So it's nice and elegant, although a really awkward, protruding wire, if you will, on the back end. I believe that's part of the trick part of this weapon, but it's hard to say. Now I'm not going to bother dissecting this weapon, we'll just simply call it a rapier and be done with it. However, the trick form is quick. And it's done. Did you miss it? Not surprised. Don't worry about it. Now we switch to the trick side of the weapon. You see now there's something strange about the weapon, and the weapon is now pushed to the side. There's a pistol on top of it. Now you probably think, oh, it's another pistol weapon? Big effing whoop, the rifle spear does that. And you're right, it does. But there's something inherently different about this weapon and the rifle spear. Now, this is a standard pistol on here, not a shotgun like the rifle spear. But yes, there's a very good reason why this one's different from the other one, and you probably already picked up on it. But first, let's talk about the stats of the Germanic weapon. Germanic rapier, we'll call it. I'm not pronouncing that weapon 100 times. Anyway, physical attack here, you can see you get 75 for both physical and blood attack, since there's a built-in weapon. Bonus damage for the physical attack is actually pretty good at 40 there, and blood and 11, which is standard for most weapons. If we're going to special stats, see the Quicksilver shot only uses one bullet, but the durability is only 150, which isn't that great, but that makes sense for a weapon like this. No other special stats to speak of, so attribute bonus, we got an E for strength, C for ball dexterity, E for blood tinge, and D for arcane, and attribute requirement, you need 8 strength, 12 dexterity, and 10 blood tinge, but no arcane. So yeah, that arcane, ever present. Now for the damage stats, we can see here that the base damage stats are all mainly made up of thrust, and this time it makes sense. We actually say, okay, we're telling the truth this time. And of course it's the blood attack, but there's only one type of blood attack, and that's that. Let's move on to animations. Okay, moving on to the animations for the Reiterpallasch. The basic attack is a stab, followed by several swipes and repeating stabs. So pretty basic for a rapier. Now for the power attack, you get a basic slash, which yes, rapiers can slash, just not the really best implication for them. The charge attack, however, is a very charged and harsh stab. Very nice. Alright, for light step back attack, you can see it's a quick slice, and the power attack version is a rapid jab. The rolling attack, light rolling one, is an uppercut, and of course the rolling heavy attack is no different from the normal one. Then you got the plunge attack, which is kind of like a over awkward swing, if you will. And then we got the swipe attack, or switch. And so you immediately shot your projectile when you do that, which is nice. Now the basic attack. Now you don't really jab anymore, instead you slash, strictly. And of course your power attack is actually a pistol. So there you go, you got pretty much your basic attacks there. But what's the special attack? Well, you'll find out later. First we'll start with the rolling attack. Now for light rolling attack, you can see there it's just a little jab, probably the only jab in the trick form. Although, of course, I find these ones rather difficult to time right. Okay, the rolling attack, you see fire a weapon from a crouched position, very quick. Now for light step attack, you see it's a rapid slash, and of course the firearm version of that, the power attack. Now the plunge attack is there with a nice little slash, but now the special weapon attack. Well, it's all obvious now. There is none. So they thought, oh, it's all these damn weapons. We have nothing. But wait, you can wield 2 firearms at once. That's what's special about this weapon. I have now a pistol and a shotgun. Or I could put a cannon. Or I could put any other firearm on my offhand. This changes a lot of things. So that's what makes it a little special in my book. But we'll get into that later. First, let's talk about upgrades. Now, when upgrading a weapon, you upgrade both at once, to both the basic and blood attack, and for true bonus, you only get mainly you're going to get dexterity out of this. No surprise, big whoop. So yes, and it's fairly obvious that the strength and dexterity don't even touch the blood attack. The blood attack, well, which we now went to a D, extends all by its own. And we see the arcane does get stronger, but you'll see it's pretty pointless. And then we end up with the dexterity going to an A. So pretty good in that regard. But, and speaking about that arcane now, when you do switch your element to arcane, you can, but it doesn't really swap everything over. It just adds it, and it's adding to non-scalable, so it's very pointless. I don't see any point for that, really, at all. Alright, let's go on some performance. Now, the weapon, as you probably guessed by now, is mainly a 1v1 weapon. It's not really suited for attacking groups. At all. It can, it's just, it's so much better. Where you can do take some swipe attacks to hit a couple opponents, but though the reach of the weapon is not particularly great. It's an average sword length, which should be fine in most Soul games, but in Bloodborne, it's actually not. You're going to want more longer weapons. Or you want something that's shorter and faster. Depends on what your playstyle is. Now to swap between the bullet and your sword on the fly like that is very helpful, although you could just carry an offhand weapon, so it could nullify that. But on the other hand, now your offhand weapon is also available with this weapon. So you can carry your shotgun or cannon, and whatever weapon you do want to carry. Carry a mixture of both, and really screw up your PvP encounters. Confuse your enemy pretty easily. By the way, speaking of the gun itself, it's pretty damn good. It functions much like the Hunter's Pistol. The weapon's pretty quick, but the pistol is just as quick, if not quicker. Fairly easy to use. But, is it powerful? I'd say probably more powerful than most guns. But not so much that, again, you can't depend on it to kill opponents. But now, in terms of using the weapon to jab enemies, well, you can see you can get through armor if you jab, and slashing, not so much. That's to be expected. But still, with the rapier, I kind of expected a bit more armor piercing. Some moves do pretty good, but they're just not fast enough when you have to charge them up like that. And other jab moves are interrupted by slashing. So could be better ones. Now, fighting the Battle Maiden, his weapon's actually not the best one for this either. Mainly on the premise of the Battle Maiden's movements is a bit sporadic. Of all the opponents to parry, I have the most trouble with this one, given to her strange pauses. And when her moves do hit, they hit rather swiftly. But no matter. In terms of still jabbing, it's fairly still effective, but still, the short range it leaves a little bit to be desired. But I can still get by just fine. And as much as I can't parry with the gun, I'll probably just resort to just going behind it and just charge stabbing. Which is just fine for most large opponents like this. But conventionally fighting, bad idea. Parrying, if you're good at it, go for it. For me, I'm not the best at parrying. So I'll just probably wimp out every time doing that. Oh well, the enemy is dead, and let's move on. Now, fighting a Shadow of Yharnam is a bit more of an interesting experiment. Weapon is designed for one-on-one, yet I think it fights these guys pretty easily because it keeps up with them just as much, although their weapon is almost twice the reach. And not to mention the movements included with that, but still, I can move just as fast as they can. And the pistol reacts just as swiftly. So, it's actually pretty much an enjoyable fight. It's perfectly balanced, if you will, fighting these guys. And of course, parrying them is not that hard. I have some difficulty, but we all can't be masters of the parry. But otherwise, I think I pretty much summarized everything I feel about this weapon now in the performance. It's fairly comparable. It's go around balanced activity. The slash to pierce is pretty good. The pistol is nice and quick and can be used easily for parrying. So I think it's kind of everything. So let's move on to the pros and cons now. Moving on to the pros and cons of the Reiterpallasch, which I still think I'm pronouncing that wrong somehow, but we'll see. Or we won't. Going on to pros, the weapon is fairly nimble and swift. Probably all of the most nimble and swifts on there. The Blade of Mercy was also very nimble and swift, but not as powerful. Okay, there's that. And its dedicated thrusting attacks is good against enemy armor, which is also nice. And kind of that's it for pros for the basic version of this. On the cons, it is a little bit on the shorter end, a basic length of blade, which is a bit underwhelming in Bloodborne. Alright, and it's more or less dedicated for one-on-ones. That kind of goes for both forms, but yeah, that's more as a con. And it is a rather hidden weapon, since I entirely missed it easily in my first playthrough, and I wouldn't doubt anyone else for the same thing. Okay, that's enough for pros and cons, let's go on to the score. Damage, I'm going to give a solid 7 out of 10. Good speed, good damage. Enough said. Reach is a 5 out of 10, standard length. Just a little bit underwhelming in Bloodborne. Animation though, I give a nice solid 7 out of 10. I like the animations, they're nice fluid. Look coherent with the weapon. Bonus, 7 out of 10. Good bonus damage for dexterity. Good scaling too. Miscellaneous, I'm going to give a 6 out of 10. It's a fairly good comparable weapon. Is it the best to use in Bloodborne? No, maybe not, but still fairly good. So in total, I give the Reiterpallasch 32 out of 50. It's a great weapon. Very good so. Now for the Reiterpallasch B, bayonet, if you will. The pros and cons are as follows. Your weapon is now a dual pistol weapon if you can. You have 2 firearms. This changes a lot of things in PvP. And the pistol is fairly good and comparable to that of the Hunter's pistol. Damage and speed. Alright, so that's pretty darn good in itself. But those are kind of it for the pros. Pretty basic there. On the cons, you lose a lot of your thrust attacks. And the pistol alone is still not overly powerful to kill enemies with, so it's still the same firepower of any pistol. Pretty simple, basic pros and cons in both forms. Now going on to the score. Now damage, I'm going to give a 6 out of 10. Reason why, you lose the stabbing, the jabs, the thrust attacks, and you only get the basic slash attacks. Since the pistol is not overly powerful and you kind of lose that, I dock at 1 point. Reach remains the same, a 5 out of 10, because I'm not counting the pistol here. Even though it is built into the weapon, I think it's a bit cheating if I did. Animation, 6 out of 10. You lose half the animations then you go into pistols, so it is a bit of a loss, but no matter. Bonus though, I'm going to give it 8 out of 10, because you get your basic scaling on the weapon, plus the very minute blood scaling, so I'll give it an extra point. Misc, 8 out of 10, for being an overall decent weapon, with a gun built in, and you can even use your offhand weapon still, with another gun. So double gun glory. Imagine it, pistol, chainball, chain gun, pistol, cannon. You get the idea. So in total, the Reiterpallasch bayoneted gets 33 out of 50. Also a great weapon. Truly wish I could have found this in my first playthrough. Alright, here is the weapon with all the gems fitted, and you probably noticed, hey, the blood attack is actually a good ball scaling there. And that's because of blood gems, which I probably added as a fact on the pros from the prone section for the bayoneted version. So let's see what this does now. So truly, I wish I found this weapon in my first playthrough, because this easily becomes one of my favorite weapons. Like how versatile this weapon is for most combat scenarios. Now true, it's not great for groups, but one-on-ones, I absolutely love it. It's an excellent weapon in my opinion. But is it the best weapon? No. And that's been Showcase for today. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Hope to see you guys next time. Take care out there.